Life is not a path of coincidence, happenstance, and luck, but rather an unexplainable, meticulously chartered course for one to touch the lives of others and make a difference in the world. People are the heart of everything. We have meaning. We have impact. Our actions make ripples throughout the entire pond of life. We each make a difference. The power of one. The greatness in each of us is made more brilliant by the power of many. In Colorado, we are a community. We do what we can with what we have, where we are, to be a leading business environment, to strengthen our competitive advantage, to create and retain quality jobs, to advance opportunities for entrepreneurship, to build environments of innovation, to facilitate infrastructures for investments, to promote our communities and quality of life, to drive economic prosperity for Colorado, for our communities, for our citizens. Colorado is a flourishing, thriving community with talented people with big hearts. We have passion and commitment for a vibrant future for us all. Employees, employers, governments and citizens, we choose to be a team, to make a difference for each other. We choose Colorado. Together, we drive. Together, we lead. Together, we succeed. Together, we are Colorado. Welcome to the 3rd Annual Drive, Lead, Succeed Conference, hosted by the Economic Development Council of Colorado.
So thank you to Crazy Good Marketing for putting that together. We look forward to that every year. There was a line in there that says, we choose to be a team. And we've got a great team of individuals in this room with the Economic Development Council of Colorado. We've got a great team of supporters and sponsors. So please bear with me as I acknowledge a few of the folks who help us put on this conference. Our title sponsor, of course, who has a long-standing partnership with us is Xcel Energy, and we want to recognize them. So please give them a round of applause. Our platinum sponsors, Brownstein, Hyatt and Farber and Schreck, Colorado Workforce Development Council, Crazy Good Marketing. Our gold sponsors, OEDIT and the Denver Office of Economic Development. Our silver partners are University of Colorado Boulder, Denver Regional Council of Governments, Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation, Tri-State General and Transmission Association, Upstate Colorado Economic Development. That's me. And I do want to, because I'm up here and I have a microphone, we represent 31 communities in Weld County. And when I talk about we choose to be a team, we do have some folks here from Weld County, and I always like to do this. So we have a new economic developer who has just moved to the state of Colorado. His name is Chad Holwell. He's with the city of Greeley. So Chad, if you want to just stand up real quick back there and please make sure you guys introduce yourself to him. Our economic partners, who of course are, on the ground floor, in the trenches, doing economic development every day. Colorado Educational and Cultural Facilities, City of Arvada, City of Castle Rock, City of Lakewood, Collabs, Comcast is sponsoring. Thank you, Andy, for that. Development Research Partners, American Company, NREL, and the Ports to Plains Alliance. We also have support from the City of Commerce City, CSU, and Tetra Tech. So if you could give all of our sponsors a round of applause, we really appreciate it. So as we get started here, you have your programs. I'm not going to go into extended bios, but we've got a tremendous group of folks coming to speak to you over the next 2 days. Dave Meslin, Kirk Kaufman, Matt Morey, several different panels. The list goes on and on. But what I also want to do before we get started is a couple minor housekeeping notes. Wi-Fi info, because I know all of you have your smartphones. And I will probably not call out most of you when I see you working them, but you never know. So The network is Marriott Conference. The password is EDCC 2015, so you should be able to find that. As we do have speakers up here, please turn your ringers off. Give them your full attention. But here's, let me introduce our first speaker. And she's a Jefferson County, Colorado Board of Commissioners in District 1. And we got to talk this morning, and she said, "You're not going to really read my bio, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to do that." But I happen to have a little of it here. And the reason I am going to read it, Libby, is that it is so massive and so amazing. I don't really know how you even have time to be here, so we're very appreciative of your time here. But you are a commissioner. You are a business owner. I'm not going to go through the list, but I see about 10 different committees you're on. And what that tells us, and I'm sure the people in Jefferson County are extremely appreciative of your engagement, and that you're, and I do also want to point out, you are on the Jefferson Economic Council, of course, which many of you are familiar with, and you're a business owner, and you're in manufacturing, so you're right in the wheelhouse of all of us economic developers. So I did make you a promise I wouldn't read your whole bio. So with that, could you please welcome County Commissioner Libby Sabo.
Well, I turned the mic on, so hopefully it's working. And thank you, Rich, for that introduction, and thank you for not reading that boring bio. But I just wanted to say good morning and welcome to Jefferson County. They've nicknamed us the Gateway to the Rockies. And a few of you I know have driven down through the mountains and got to see the beautiful view. And as you leave Jefferson County on your way to the mountains, you get to see everything that Colorado has to offer. And we do have a lot to offer. So I wanted to thank you all for being here today. The kids over here, they're over here in the corner. Thanks for being here. I think you guys are going to be able to learn a lot. You know, you guys are our future. And once you get out of high school, boy, and college, it's time to get to work. That's what I've told my kids anyway. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Jefferson County, I'm just going to give you a few little tidbits of things that we have going on here. So we have 773.2 square miles of land. We're very diverse geographically. We have settings from urban to rural. Our open space program is over 51,000 acres of land that has been dedicated to open space. I'm sure a lot of you have come out here to use it. We have 5 colleges. We're home to Lockheed Martin, Miller Coors, Coors Tech, Terumo, BCT, Coleman, and Pilatus, which is an aircraft company from Switzerland. Our population is 552,213, unless there's been a baby born this morning. Our median age is 41.3. 12 incorporated cities and 12 unincorporated communities. 314,000 labor force with an average wage of $49,000. We're the largest number of seniors in Colorado. 13.6 of our total population is aged over 65. We also carry 20% of the state's homestead exemptions. And if you all are familiar with that, that's an exemption that we give our older folks on their property tax. So, you know, as I was looking over all the information that we were all given for the conference, something caught me, and it was a quote by James C. Collins. "Great vision without great people is irrelevant." So it takes two things. It takes a vision, and it takes people like you and I to get things done in Colorado. You and I sharing what we know, what's working and what's not working in our communities. You know, fostering and sustaining economic prosperity, whether at an individual level, a national level, or a global level, is a huge endeavor. And at its core are people. People are the heart of everything that happens. You know, I'm just going to give you a little brief history about our family-owned business and how we got to live our American dream. My father-in-law immigrated from Hungary in 1956. Didn't know any of the language, had $10 in his pocket, and my mother-in-law had a baby in her arms. But they knew that America was the place to be. They knew that's where they could take their entrepreneurial spirit and do something great with it. And in that, we have a family-owned business that's over 40 years old with a third generation working at it. And the second generation is hoping they're going to take it over soon. So it's stories that we all have. And it's because we've all worked together. We've all come together in conferences like these. We've all gotten together over a cup of coffee or a lunch and shared what we know. And that's important to keep our economy thriving. So in closing, I want to give you another quote by Douglas MacArthur. He said, "A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others." So I think if we take those words with us today and in the future, we will be true leaders. I'd like to challenge each of you throughout this conference, meet some new people. Don't sit at the table with all your colleagues. I know it's comfy and fun, but reach out to new people because you know that old saying, two heads are better than one. And they just might have seen or might have other ideas that you haven't been exposed to. So be that leader with the confidence, courage, and compassion to lead Colorado to excellence. Again, welcome to the beautiful community of Jefferson County. I hope you enjoy yourself, and I hope you learn a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Kirk Scheitler with Xcel Energy. I'm the manager of policy and outreach for Xcel here in the state, and welcome everybody to this year's conference. We're very happy to be part of it. Over the past century, Xcel Energy and its predecessor companies have met our customers' growing needs while providing safe, reliable, clean energy at competitive prices. It's a legacy we're proud to continue, especially in such a challenging and exciting time. And we discovered that collaboration with civic and business leaders is a key to our shared success. I'm proud to work for a company that's taken a leading approach in capitalizing on possibilities, even as the even as the industry continues to change at a rapid pace. Our customers stand to benefit from greater choice, improved efficiency, and greater reliability. It's really about living our values. We stay focused on the cornerstones of our business, which include reliability. We know our customers trust and depend on us to meet their energy needs around the clock. It's also about competitive price. We know our customers need a competitive price because this energy is what fuels the economy. And it's also about responsiveness. Customers also need us to be responsive, especially to whatever Mother Nature delivers, be it a 100-year flood, pummeling storms, or breaking high or low temperatures. And partnerships. Again, we can't do this alone. Our poles, wires, pipes literally run down the streets of every community we serve. We are heavily invested in the community, and we believe partnerships are the way to get things done. We believe we have a responsibility to have a positive impact in all that we do. as a good neighbor, a community advocate, and environmental steward. Xcel Energy is also connected to the communities we serve through active and ongoing investment in their infrastructures, our local supply chain, spending, and taxes that we pay. We are active members in community chambers of commerce and economic development organizations throughout our service territories. In addition, we often collaborate and work closely with our cities and towns as they try to attract and develop new business, expanding employment and revenue opportunities. Our company also pays significant property taxes and sales taxes in our communities that we all live in. Xcel Energy is the largest taxpayer in the state. Looking forward, again, as we look forward to the future, we are already investing in and analyzing how to create the capabilities and services that will be there to meet your energy needs, take advantage of new technologies, and to shore up our community's ability to take advantage of opportunities. We are providing solutions that have the best combination of benefits at a reasonable cost, which customers are taking advantage of in large numbers. And we want our customers energy providers. We want to be our customers' key energy provider and energy provider of choice today and through tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us here today. I have the great pleasure of introducing Dave Meslin. Dave is an outsider to the business world, and as a leading advocate for political engagement and democratic renewal, his work focuses on transforming apathy into action. While some may see these two worlds as being far apart, Dave will explain how democratic renewal, economic development share the same goals, strategies, and obstacles. Fostering innovation, inclusion, creativity, confidence are the key ingredients. Our greatest asset as a society is each other, and how do we tap into this hidden value? Dave is a writer, a community organizer, and a trainer, dancing between the worlds of mainstream politics and grassroots activism. Meslin has found positive ways to bring them both together and turn energy into action. Multi-partisan and fiercely optimistic, his work focuses on how we can overcome cynicism and create a culture of participation. His TED Talks, the Antidote to Apathy, has been viewed over 1.4 million times and translated into 37 languages. Meslin founded the Ranked Ballot Initiative of Toronto, Unlock Democracy Canada, co-edited Local Motion, The Art of Civic Engagement, and is currently writing a book for Penguin Canada called 100 Remedies for a Broken Democracy. Please join us in welcoming David Meslin.
Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Richard. Thanks to the EDCC for inviting me here. It's a real honor to be a part of this conference. I can tell you're a very positive bunch of people. When Libby was talking about the population, she made a joke saying that the population is X unless someone was born this morning. Well, there's another way the population could have changed this morning, which she glossed over and chose to focus on the positives. So maybe that says a lot about the kind of folks that are out here. So I'm happy to be a part of that. My work also has a very positive outlook. And of course, thank you to all of you for showing up so early in the morning. My alarm went off, and I'll admit I was in this cozy bed with 4 pillows, and I was thinking, I don't want to get out of bed, but I'm contractually obligated to be at this podium at 8:45. None of you are, so thank you for choosing on your own to get out of that bed and to join me here. Although it is funny that the front tables are empty. There's this joke about kids in classrooms that they all sit at the back, and there's these empty tables here at the front. So anyone in the back who wants to come closer, join these 2 lovely ladies right here. There's an empty one there, an empty one there. And if you don't do it, I'm going to come out there. I'm going to start walking all the way through. Also want to take a moment to thank some of the hidden people behind the scenes who are making this work. We've got Joel, who's filming today, and Devin, who's doing the soundboard, and Melody's coordinating all of it. Round of applause for the people behind the curtains. And speaking of seating, I'm jealous of, I met John at my table, who's going to be on a panel later, and I'm jealous of the people who get to sit on these couches. I have to stand at a podium for an hour, so at some point I might just sit on the couch for a bit, just because they look way more comfortable than both your chairs and my current podium. This isn't my usual crowd, I'll be honest. My background is political activism, community organizing. I'm actually on a research tour right now looking for 100 remedies for a broken democracy. I spent the last 9 days actually in New England meeting with folks like the New Hampshire Rebellion, Stamp Stampede, who are trying to get big corporate money out of election campaigns in New Hampshire. I met with a democratically run school in Massachusetts where the kids choose their own curriculum. I met with Noam Chomsky. I met with groups who are trying to change the voting system in Maine so we could actually have third-party or independent candidates in your elections. So that's the kind of work I do. How do we make democracy work better? So many people have lost faith in politics. They've lost faith in democracy. So I'm not an academic. I'm not a business leader. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a politician. So some of you might be wondering, who the heck invited this guy? Believe it or not, I think the worlds of economic development and democratic reform actually have a lot in common. And in a way, I think it's a shame that we have conferences like this that focus exclusively on economic health and creating jobs, and then we have other groups and conferences who focus exclusively about political empowerment and social capacity, because of course, we benefit from both a healthy economy and a healthy democracy. And over the next 45 minutes, I'll argue that those two communities of advocates actually have very similar goals, obstacles, and strategies, and a lot that we can learn from each other. I don't know if you guys can all see this light up here. I think it's great. I've never had one of these. In hockey, I think a green light goes on when you score, and it's on the whole time. So I'm just feeling like I'm winning. It's constant. Thank you, whoever put the green light there. You should see me play hockey, though. Bad. Not all Canadians play hockey well. One way of looking at this framing I'm proposing is that there's three currencies that we have to play with. As adults, we have complete autonomy over our money. You might have to negotiate with your wife or husband or whatever, but essentially we have autonomy in how and when to spend our money or whether to just keep it in savings. We have our time. We decide when and how to spend our time. And of course, in our beautiful democracy, we each get a vote, and we each get to decide what to do with that. And all three of these currencies operate within democracies or free markets driven by the masses. Companies thrive or fail based on how consumers vote with their dollar. Conferences like this thrive or fail based on whether people decide to show up. And of course, political ideas thrive or fail at the ballot box. And the beauty of all of these three free markets is that it puts all of its faith in us, in ordinary people. There's no one person at the top who can decide if a company thrives or fails, or a conference, or a political idea. We've collectively distributed that responsibility amongst all of us, and that's an amazing idea. Consumers are the driving force behind economic growth through their purchases, creating market forces, rewarding innovative products and services, forcing companies to be responsive to consumer needs, because the consumer is voting with their dollar every day. And then entrepreneurs, of course, are constantly providing new choices to lure dollars away from those customers. And in the same way that consumers and entrepreneurs drive innovation in the private sector, it's democratic participation that forces political innovation and creativity. So in that sense, apathy is our common enemy, both for what you do and what I do, or what we do. If people don't participate in the economy, as consumers, as investors, as innovators, if they lose confidence, we get economic stagnation, recession, and job loss. Likewise, when people are disengaged from the democratic process, our political culture can become stagnant, polarized, counterproductive. I believe we are currently in a political recession. But not only do we have the same enemy, I believe we have a lot of the same solutions. The ideas that you discuss at conferences like this to support economic development are incredibly similar to some of the work I've been looking at and researching as I'm writing my book about fixing democracy in terms of how to support political engagement. Reducing red tape and obstacles, investing in young emerging leaders through skills development, improving marketing and outreach skills, encouraging innovation and competition, providing resources for small businesses to grow. These are all ideas that you probably talk about a lot, you hear a lot. I'm sure they'll come up in some of your panels and breakout sessions this weekend. So I'm going to talk a bit about how I'm pretty much doing the same thing and how I think we can learn some tricks and ideas back and forth. But first, let me take a quick walk back into my life, because my real start actually was business. I finished high school, barely, but I did finish it. I got all the marks I needed. And I was so sick of school. Sorry to anyone in the room who might be in school. School's great, stick with it. But I was so sick of school. I was sick of being told what to do. I was an entrepreneur at heart. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to wake up in the morning and listen to my ideas and act on them. So I kind of dropped out of school, didn't go to college, didn't go to university. I wanted to learn how to make t-shirts. Not how to make t-shirts, how to silk screen on t-shirts, which isn't called silk screen anymore. They don't use silk. It's called screen printing. And there was no YouTube then. This was pre-YouTube. I got a book with pictures that explained how to use a squeegee and how to develop your screen and how to use emulsion. And in my parents' basement, where I was still living, I got a squeegee like that. I got a screen. I got emulsion. And I started getting orders from high school bands, high school fashion shows, and I was running a business at, 19 years old. And I loved it. I thought it was so cool that I was my own boss. Wasn't getting rich, but I was making some money, feeling independent. Then I worked up to a 4-color Benmar press, where you can do 4 colors on a shirt, the shirt stays static, and the screens spin around. Really cool machine. My dad helped me out financing that, very good interest on that loan. And then that little thing on the side, I'm gonna use my laser, that's the little oven that cures the shirt to make it permanent. But it doesn't work fast because you have to wait for the shirt to sit under that for 20 seconds before we can start the next shirt. So of course I upgraded to one of these. This is an oven, which I did sometimes make brownies and cookies on. Not the kinds you make in Colorado. We don't do that yet. Just normal ones. And we ran the t-shirts. This could cure and dry tons of t-shirts very rapidly. This was really, really fun. And in the end, I shut it down after 3 years. It grew and grew and grew. And I shut it down because I learned quickly that being self-employed is a total lie. When you're self-employed, the myth is that when you're self-employed, you don't have a boss. When you're self-employed, everyone is your boss. Every time the phone rang, it was my boss. And when you work in an actual company, there's rules about how the boss can treat you. There's no rules about how a customer can treat you. So a boss can't say, I need you to work all night. And you're like, what? I've already done 40 hours this week. No, you got to work all night. That's illegal. It isn't where I come from. Yeah, here? I don't know. Anyways, but if someone calls me and says, Dave, I need 1,000 t-shirts first thing in the morning, I can't say no. He'll take his business somewhere else. So actually, after a while, I decided that I hated being self-employed. But it was really fun those 3 years. I learned a lot about business, and I took a lot of the creative skills that I learned as an entrepreneur and started applying them to kind of grassroots civic politics. I got really excited about how can I make a difference in the world. I'm young. There's issues out there about the environment, about war, about poverty. How can I make a difference? So I moved downtown and started getting involved with different types of political communities. And we did some really fun projects, and I want to share some of them quickly with you and then tie the themes back to your theme. This is what we call an orphan space. It's a piece of municipal space that for some reason has been abandoned. It can be between a sidewalk and a curb, between a sidewalk and a building. It could be, maybe there used to be a tree in a circle, and now it's gone. So we thought, you know what? Why wait for the city to fix these spaces? Why don't we be entrepreneurial as neighbors, get out there and do it ourselves? We called it guerrilla gardening, vandalizing the city with nature. Technically, it's illegal. You're not really supposed to do that stuff. There's a Parks and Rec board, and they don't like volunteers showing up and just doing whatever they want. But who cares, right? It's our neighborhood, and they weren't doing it. So what we said is, all you have to show up with is a spoon. Because one of the barriers people have to getting engaged in anything is a fear like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not an expert enough. Whether it's starting a new restaurant, opening up a business, investing money, or gardening. It's like, am I going to mess this up? Is this going to be embarrassing when people see my flower didn't grow? So we told people, listen, just show up with a spoon. You don't need a shovel. You don't need a degree in botany or horticulture. Bring your spoon. And this was an entrepreneurial effort for me because I don't know if anyone was going to show up, right? People might think, this is dumb. I can go watch a movie with my friends, or I can go to this dumb spoon thing with Dave. But people showed up. A lot of people showed up. And the media showed up. And it was really fun. And we transformed those spaces into beautiful gardens that people really appreciated in the neighborhood. And the media loved it. We had a lot of stories on the radio, on TV, in print, because it showed that people were willing to take control over their own spaces. And what's powerful about this is that people invest a lot of time and creativity into things that they know are theirs. So our bodies, our homes, we decorate our homes, we think about our hair. You all have very nice haircuts. You've chosen your clothing. You've probably hung up some artwork in your homes. We're entrepreneurial about our own micro lives, and we think about ways to make it better all the time. But then we get to the edge of our lawn, and it's like, after that's the city. The mayor's gonna worry about it, the city council, the business people, they'll make everything I need. And we kind of become insulated in our own world. And what both you're trying to do and what I'm trying to do with my work is to get people to think outside of that realm and say, what can I do out there? How can I impact the world out there? And as soon as that spoon breaks through that top layer of soil, it could literally be the first time in your life that you have physically altered something outside of the realm of your private home. Because we go through most of our lives taking orders from people and doing what we're told and not taking agency over anything unless we know it's our own home, our own car, our own body, etc. So it's a powerful metaphor for breaking outside of that mental box. Here's some more people doing their gardening. The chain link fence. The chain link fence is the physical manifestation of that mental barrier I was telling you about. I'm going to take care of my house, hang up the art, sweep the floor, paint the walls, maybe have a little garden, boom, fence. After that fence, that's not me. That's not my space. So what's the best way to get people to think about removing the mental fences in their mind? It's to take down their actual fences. So we don't have a guerrilla defencing campaign, because that would be illegal. By the way, all those flowers died because we don't have a guerrilla watering campaign. But the metaphor lives on in the minds and hearts of every participant. What we do with this is we started this group called the Downtown Defense Project. I got sick of all these neighborhoods near me where people were putting up fences in their front yard, not a backyard fence, chain link fence in your front yard that sends two messages. One, between you and your neighbor, stay the hell away from me. But number two, I'm cutting off the whole city. I'm like separating my obligations and responsibilities and my love and my creativity from the rest of the city. Boom. So what we did is we made these cute little flyers that showed a fenced community and an open community. And we've put forward some philosophical ideas about how the fenced community is like a self-imposed prison yard in front of your house, and the open community shows a relationship, an actual neighborhood where neighbors know each other, respect each other, maybe talk to each other. And at the bottom it says, call us today for free fence removal. Give us a call, we'll take down your fence. This was a crazy idea. I had to design the flyer, I had to print the flyer, hang them on fences with two big question marks. Is anyone gonna call me? Why would anyone call me? All my friends were like, Dave, this is stupid. If they didn't want the fence, they wouldn't have the fence. Like, why are you're being paternalistic by telling these people they should do something that obviously they've thought of before. And number two, who the hell's gonna help me take down these fences? Like, how am I gonna do this on my own? So the good news was people did call, and they said, Dave, take down my fence. I bought the house, there was a fence on it. I had never thought about it before. It's never been the top priority. We've had some money, but we renovated the backyard first. Go ahead, take down my fence. And then I was like, well, shit, I have no idea how to take down fences. I found out that there's metal, the poles keep going past the soil, which makes sense. They can go pretty far. They can go into big balls of concrete. They can go into like curbs under the sidewalk where they've poured a whole curb and then put them in. So I definitely needed help. And it's an easier pitch to say, let's go planting than let's take down a fence. Unless you make it sound sexy, like come and learn how to use power tools and all this stuff. So this time I said, don't bring a spoon, bring a pair of pliers. That's all you need. We'll have power tools. We won't make you sign a waiver. We probably should have. We have taken down dozens and dozens of fences across Toronto, and in each case, it's made the community look a lot more beautiful and open. And I've met some amazing people. Here's a before and after picture, but we've turned yards from this into this. And again, it's about people seeing that the realm of possibility of where we can implement change goes far beyond our homes, far beyond our insular lives. You can change things outside of your home. And that's the first seed of entrepreneurialism, right? Seeing the whole world as a canvas and saying, what can I do out there? Whether it's politically or economically. It's our playground. And I have a whole life in front of me where I can just do some crazy stuff. But you have to get people to get past that mental barrier that I'm supposed to take care of my home and my car and my body, and someone else is taking care of everything else. Our group, the Toronto Public Space Committee, 10 years ago, we never had staff, we never had volunteers, we never had staff or an office. We were completely volunteer run. And in a city of 3 million people, we were voted the best nonprofit group because I think we really tapped into something where people wanted to talk about that political idea of collective ownership and making the city better together, but wanted to see it done in a fun way that wasn't preachy, that involved flowers and power tools. In fact, we ended up on the front cover of our weekly magazine, which is usually reserved for a rock star coming through town or a comedian or a new TV show. So by combining politics and art and creativity into one package, we were able to do something very powerful in Toronto. But like the same way I got sick of my my business with the t-shirts, I kind of got sick of this too. And the reason was there were so few people doing it. I mean, I met 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people who were doing the gardening and the fencing. And maybe we had 5,000 or 6,000 people on our email list, which was great, very inspiring. And by nonprofit volunteer standards, that's pretty cool. But I live in a city of 3 million people. And the truth is the vast majority aren't engaged politically at all. I mean, municipal voter rates across North America are staggeringly low. We hit 50%, which we think is low. And I know that down here it gets much lower. I know LA, I think, can get down to, I was there last year researching, I don't know if it was 15 or 20, but just unbelievable that people fought and died for our democracy, and so many people can't even bother once every 2 years or 4 or a year. You got weird staggered things. We don't. But whenever you're voting, just to get off your ass and vote. And that's the smallest thing you can do. So I started shifting my work away from planting gardens and taking down fences and fighting for bike lanes and this and that. And I started investigating this larger theme of what is it that prevents most people from acting on their dreams and passions. And that is a theme that I think overlaps a lot with what you do, because those passions could be political ideas, like I wish my community had a library, or I wish there was a bike lane on my street, or I wish we had a different healthcare system, whatever. But it could also be, I think the real obstacle to entrepreneurialism isn't good ideas or a lack of good ideas. People come up with good ideas all the time. They'll sit around at the bar, or the dinner table, and come up with this amazing idea for a new product or a new store. We have no shortage of that. It's the people who are gutsy enough or crazy enough to actually try and do it. And I think we live in a culture where people are scared to take the courage to act on their own ideas. So I've been exploring that. I did a TED Talk about apathy, and I essentially proposed that apathy, as we think we know it, doesn't exist. There's no one out there who doesn't care about anything and just sits and watches TV because they're so stupid and selfish that the whole world can go to hell. It doesn't exist. If you talk to people one-on-one, they'll say, yeah, politics, I'm not that into it. You dig a little deeper, and they actually have very good informed reasons of why they've decided to tune out of politics. And for similar reasons, they might have also decided why they haven't gone into their own business or become an investor or an entrepreneur. There are mental and emotional barriers, and I want to play through some of them quickly. And my focus, of course, has been the political side, but I'm going to keep bringing it back. So there's 4 specific areas where I'm going to talk about work I've done that I think specifically relates back to some of your themes. Improving marketing and outreach skills. I'm going to come down here a bit to you guys. Skills and training, encouraging innovation and competition, and supporting entrepreneurs. Those are all good ideas? Are those are helpful things in your world? Okay. Marketing and outreach skills. I'm going to focus here. This is something from my TED Talk. Some of you might have seen a clip of this already if you've seen my TED Talk. The government sometimes tries to speak with us, and they produce materials to inform us. This is allegedly a public notice designed to inform a neighborhood that there's been a development proposed that might affect you as a resident. It's not designed very well. In fact, using the word design is very generous. It's been produced in Microsoft Word, which is not a design program, and it was designed by a lawyer, and lawyers shouldn't design things, except contracts. You need to get halfway down to even find out what the address is that they're talking about. Now, why the hell would you have gotten halfway down? Like, what was so exciting to get you to that point? So no one's ever even reached that point. It's in tiny, tiny point font, all black text on white background, and then the very, very bottom, again, tiny, tiny point font, telling you how you can actually submit your feedback back into the process if you care enough about your neighborhood. So in the TED Talk, I asked the audience, hypothetically, to imagine how stupid it would look if the private sector advertised the same way. If a company like Nike had a new pair of shoes, and they wanted to advertise that, and they hired the same guy who made this ad, we would see billboards and magazine ads and newspaper ads all over that look like this. Which, of course, you've never seen, and you never will. Why? Has anyone ever seen an ad like this? TV, newspaper, billboard, anything, ever, anywhere in your whole life? Why not? Why have you never seen an ad like this? Doesn't work. It wouldn't sell. It's a crappy ad. And you laughed at it when you saw it, yet we don't laugh when we see government materials that look the exact same. You should be laughing the same way. In fact, you should be crying, because the government procedure is actually much more important than which pair of shoes you buy. They're all the same. You run in them. You'll be fine. But what type of building is constructed in your neighborhood could have a huge impact on traffic, on safety, on aesthetics, on whatever. It's not just the design, it's also they use a lot of weird bureaucratic jargon in these designs that even if people were crazy enough to read that poorly designed ad, they still wouldn't understand a thing they were reading. So here's a few examples. Here's the bottom is, just before we even get into the words, file number 122356222STE270Z. That's crazy. Every personal automobile in Ontario is uniquely identified with a 7-digit alphanumeric license plate, but the Planning Department of Toronto needs like a 15-digit code. So I'm supposed to phone up now the clerk and say, "Hi, I have a question about file number 1223566." It's a barrier. Every time you make a barrier, every time you make it harder for someone to do anything, to start a new business, to find out what's happening in their neighborhood, every barrier will reduce the number of people who follow through. You want to make it as easy as possible. Here's a great one. So on that sign, it said that this new condo is going to have a 4-story podium. Anyone here know what that means? Some of you will. If you're involved with, if you're an urban planner or an architect. So hands up if you know what this means. There you go. Great. So that's a lot of people whose hands weren't up. So this is a podium. It's the bottom part of a tower. If you're building a tower, the bottom like 2 or 3 floors are called the podium. No one knows that. So you're going to have all these really, really angry, pissed off neighbors saying, "Why the hell are you building a 4-story podium in my neighborhood?" The volume levels, the drain on the grid, the incongruity with the architectural feel of our neighborhood, etc. Anyways, that turns people off. You start reading language you don't understand, and you flip to the next page. Here's another one. The condo is going to include 4 levels of below-grade parking. That just sounds like crappy parking. Right? Don't you want high-grade parking in your neighborhood? So below grade, what do you think it means? What does below grade mean? Most of you can figure it out. Underground. And what is the term that most people use to describe things that are underground? Underground. You all knew it. That's the word we use. No one says below grade. It's not. Those aren't words that normal human beings use ever. So if you're communicating with the public, why would you use it, right? Have anyone been on the subway in London? They call it the underground, right? and it's a very sexy brand. People wear T-shirts that say underground, buttons that say underground. What if they called it the below grade? Would there be T-shirts? Would there be stickers? No way. What about a band called the Velvet Below Grade? It's a terrible name for a band. When I think of below grade, I think of my report card from high school. This is 1991. Those are my actual grades. Through my mother's lens, these were below grade. Between you and me, I was aiming for 50, and I nailed it. Look at that. This is like award. Can I get an award for that? I passed everything with barely trying, which is not what you should do. You should double those marks. Anyways, I didn't know they were coming. This is awkward now. The good news is that I don't like just complaining about government inadequacy when it comes to communication, and I really do think it harms democracy a lot. If people don't show up to that meeting about that condo, that's not apathy. It's intentional exclusion. They've done everything they can to make sure that no one knows the meeting is even happening or what it's about. So the good news is I asked people to send me designs of how would you design a proper notice if you were a municipality. And you wanted people to, number one, notice the notice, so use color, use nice fonts. Number two, get all the information you need clearly. Number three, clearly point out what points of opportunity you have as a citizen to engage in the process. And number four, perhaps most importantly, the proactive pitch. We want to hear from you, just like Nike would do. Nike isn't just like, here's a shoe. They're like, buy it! It'll change your life. It'll be amazing. Like, where's the pitch? Get involved. Your voice matters. This is your chance. So people started sending me these amazing designs. I don't even know who these folks are. It all happened through my blog. And you can see right away, of course, that's what a municipal notice should look like. It's got color, it's got icons, Speak Up Toronto, exclamation marks. Exclamation marks are a very affordable tool that have come down in price drastically over the last few decades. Have your say, exclamation mark, come to the meeting, visit us, call us, email us, all exclamation marks. We need your input. And then I got this one, and this was the most exciting one in a way, not because it was designed the best. This was the most exciting one because it wasn't sent to me by a random artist. This was sent to me by someone who worked at the village of Pemberton, British Columbia, which is near Whistler. So just up the mountains from here. And she said, I saw your TED Talk, I saw those submissions on your blog. We've actually redesigned our public notice based on your suggestions, which blew my mind, because I'm usually a really optimistic person who believes that you can make that change happen beyond that fence in your yard. And I didn't think this was going to go anywhere, because bureaucracies, as you know, are like, they're hard to shift. So I thought, this is great. I should give them an award. So I started blogging about it, and the National Post, one of our daily papers in Canada, wrote a story on it. This headline really illustrates how pathetic our political culture has become. One BC municipality is getting people to read public notices. This is newsworthy. That's like saying the garbage men picked up the garbage today. I mean, this is the most basic obligation of a government, is to communicate with people. But when one city did it, it became national headlines. So wow, do we have a lot of work to do. So I made this award. I called it the Dazzling Notice Award. And this is a tip I offer to share with you. You've probably done it before. I'm sure you do it, but do it more. People love getting awards, and they don't even care who it's from. And it doesn't have to be attached to any monetary award. I printed this out in color. I framed it with a $10 frame. I go to Pemberton, and there's the mayor of Pemberton, and they were just like, yeah, we won the Dazzling Notice Award. Which then became news again. The best part about it is that they're a really small town. Like a big bureaucracy like Toronto, they've told me, yeah, we're going to change our notice. Because it's Toronto's notice in that TED Talk. 1.5 million people have seen how stupid Toronto's notice is. And they're like, we're going to work on it. We're working on preparing a report that's going to talk about what steps need to happen before a report can come out. And then we're going to have to do a consultation on whether or not to have a report. Anyways, what happened in Pemberton is that the entire communications department, her name was Jill Brooksbank, and that's her. I don't even think she told Jordan Sturdy, the mayor, that she was doing it. She just did it. But they're all happy now. And they won the award. And now we've actually launched it into a national program. I'm happy to go international if anyone down here is ready to go. And we handed out some awards. Our website, dazzleawards.ca. And you can see some of the awards we handed out last year. This is the city of Vancouver, one of the largest cities in Canada. They've completely redesigned their notice. City of Ottawa, which is our capital city, they've done it as well. And the district, that was literally their old one on the left that went in newspapers, and the new one now. But all it took was for me to kind of point it out and make fun of people. Okay, encouraging innovation and competition. This is something we want to do in every part of our life. And I really believe, even though I'm kind of a left-leaning person in a lot of ways, I love the idea of the free market, that people can start up anything and start up any small business and just see how it goes. And if people like it, it works. If it doesn't, well, too bad. That's the market. I just think that's amazing, to allow that creativity to foster everywhere. Politically, we don't have it. I think we have a lot to learn from you in that area. Kids grow up today more than ever expecting choice from everything, just like choice and choice and choice. Like the toy stores look like the final scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they got those rows and rows of like endless boxes. I mean, you could buy this kid a toy every day, and you wouldn't scratch the surface of what's in that store. Netflix. When I grew up, I remember my grandparents' house, TV controller had a wire going back to the TV, and there were like 16 stations, and they would go chicken, chicken, chicken. It was like a loud button. Then we went up to like 30 stations, and that was pretty amazing. Now it's just infinite, I would say. I don't know. I don't have a TV anymore. But there's like hundreds of stations, and you can go on Netflix to watch pretty much any movie, anytime, anywhere, even on your phone. Like kids, that's what kids are growing up in now. It's like there's choice. And then we say, okay, now we're going to have an election where you get to choose the direction of our country. And there's red and blue. That's it. Anything else? Orange, pink? No, red and blue. Of course kids aren't voting. Of course no one's voting. It's pathetic. It's demoralizing. And other countries don't do this. European countries, yes, some of them aren't doing very well economically, like Greece, but that's what the arguments against voting reform always say. Oh, Italy, Greece, this, whatever. All the stable European countries who are doing quite well, both economically and politically, have political systems that allow for more than two parties, because your free market would fail if there were only two products out there, and the political free market is completely failing by not even allowing an independent candidate into the presidential race or allowing third parties to form. We just had our leadership race in Canada last week. 5 people running for Prime Minister of Canada. Only 3 of them have a chance of winning, but they still let the other 2 in, because it's not just about who wins, it's about ideas and sharing ideas. I just wonder how many people would subscribe to Netflix if it only had Glee and House of Cards, although I probably chose the best 2. But still, it wouldn't be a very good business model. They'd have to lower their rates a lot. And that's what you're offering people here in America politically. And if people tune that out, that's not apathy. That's them rejecting a corrupt system that has put all power into a duopoly of 2 groups who don't represent a lot of the diversity of views that are out there. So how do you fix that? There's lots of ways to fix that. I won't go into it now because it's technical and it's more about my world, but there are efforts right now in the United States to make sure that there's democratic reforms, so the same type of economic entrepreneurship that you're trying to encourage here in Colorado, that we have political entrepreneurs. And I would say in the end, it's the same thing. Either we're fostering a culture where we want to have independent thought and challenging thought and analytical thought and new ideas fostering up, or we're in a culture where we're happy to have 2 options for everything. And if you're going to embrace a culture that is satisfied with 2 options for elections, you're never going to have as full an entrepreneurial spirit economically either, because it's the same people, it's the same culture. Either you believe in outside small startups making an impact on a market, or you don't, and politically you don't. So I really encourage you to challenge that in your city, in your state, and in your country. Skills and training. This is like just so obvious, and in the same way that you need to give kids the tools they need to learn how to start up their own businesses, how to be investors, etc., how to manage businesses. We need to give kids the tools they need when they grow up to be citizens. So I've been exploring things such as, Well, here's an explanatory slide first. This is, of course, from IKEA. So we get boxes from IKEA full of all these little pieces. 20 bolts this size, 10 bolts this size, 6 screws this size, 4 nails, and 6 pegs. And it's hard enough putting it together even with this, right? Imagine getting that box and you don't have the manual. And you're like, okay, here's a little hole in this piece of wood. Is it a peg, a nail, a screw, or a bolt? I'm just going to try one. It would be impossible. And I think a lot of people relate to politics that way. If we're not teaching the complexity of how politics works, when people grow up, they're more likely to tune it out because they don't quite get it. So how do we teach it? I've been exploring lots of different examples where I think going beyond the typical civics class in grade 9 or 10, which usually doesn't teach very much. We all know that. The teachers usually don't even want to be teaching it. In Ontario, if you're a teacher and the principal doesn't like you, you get stuck with civics. It's like the Siberia of the curriculum. City Hall School is a program in Calgary and Edmonton where kids go in for a whole week and do hands-on learning, interactive with city staff, with counselors, with the mayor, and they learn about the process. Here's a picture of them in Calgary. This is in Boston. I just heard about this last week. Generation Citizen, strengthening our nation's democracy by empowering young people to become engaged and effective citizens starting now. And again, the skills you would give a kid to realize that you can be politically empowered are the exact same skills they need to know that they can start businesses and that they can be economically empowered and that they don't just have to figure out which products to buy as consumers, but that they can create products, they can create stores, they can create restaurants. That's a type of confidence and creativity that I don't think we're instilling in most of our youth through our education system right now. And I'm actually visiting a school this afternoon just down the street, Jefferson County Open School. They're part of a very large family of different types of schools across America where kids are given more choice over the curriculum, and the most radical ones, the kids actually run the school. Like they have equal vote and they outnumber the teachers. So I'm experimenting and looking at all of those as well, because we want kids to learn not just how to be obedient and how to regurgitate information back. That's not how you make entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people who are like, screw all of you, I have an idea, I don't care if you like it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to try some funders, and if no one wants to fund me, I'm going to kickstart it or go beg my uncle. It's people who listen to no and ignore it, and on their own say, I'm going to do this because I believe in me and I believe in my ideas. And we're not teaching that in school. School is like, welcome to school, kids. Whoever's the most obedient gets the best marks. We reward obedience, we reward regurgitation, which is, in a way, the last skills we should be teaching kids, in my opinion. I didn't say that. The last one is supporting entrepreneurs. So politically, one of the problems is that even though we've abandoned the monarchy hundreds of years ago, we still seem to have hereditary families occupying political positions all the time. So you're about to have another Clinton-Bush rematch here in America. We're about to have Justin Trudeau probably elected as prime minister 30 years after his dad was the prime minister. I'm sure you all heard about our mayor, Rob Ford, last year, who smokes things that aren't even legal here in Colorado. And his father was a member of parliament. And then when he left the mayoralty race, his brother replaced him, and now his nephew's a school trustee. So how do we crack beyond that, right? Again, in your world of economic development, we don't want just rich families starting businesses. We want people getting in there and being like, my dad doesn't know anything, but I'm going to start a bike shop because I can. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm just going to do it. And so I've been trying to figure out how to get that political sense of, yeah, I'm not a Trudeau, I'm not a Bush, I'm not a Clinton, but I'm going to run. And I did this with a really fun project called City Idol in 2006. It was just like American Idol, except instead of getting on a stage and singing with your songs, you'd be singing with your ideas about how to make your city better. And we put up, first we got in trouble from Bell Globe Media, who told us they had some kind of trademark thing regarding American Idol. And they said, okay, you can't call your thing City Idol. So I wrote them back and I said, okay, you want me to send out a press release saying that you're shutting down a youth engagement project in Toronto that's completely nonpartisan and volunteer run? And they were like, okay, don't use our font, don't use the oval, and don't use the colors. So it ended up being this. Although you'll see later, we switched back anyways. What they're going to assume me? So City Idol, we launched a website and we said, hey, do you think you have what it takes? You know, we don't care if you're rich, we don't care if you're a businessman, we don't care if you have a degree, we don't care who your dad is. Do you have what it takes to be a city councilor to make the city better? We want to hear from you. Sign up. We'll put you in front of a stage, live audience, and whoever wins will run you for office. So if you win American Idol, you get a record deal. You win City Idol, you win an election campaign. We'll fundraise for you, we'll give you lawn signs, website, media training, etc. Again, one of these crazy ideas. My friends are all like, no one's going to run for this. No one's going to come to watch. And you're probably going to end up with some loser. You're going to be like stuck running this idiot for office just because you said you would. And I was like, no, I really believe that if we open this up and make it inclusive and make it inviting and make it fun, we'll end up with way better candidates than the ones we actually tend to see on the ballot. The audience will pick the most exciting, creative, vibrant candidate, and we're going to have a great time running them for office. Huge risk, and economic risk too. I booked a huge room, like a big hall. The candidates were amazing. I'll skip through this quickly. I just wanted to mention how one of my goals was to increase diversity. You can see on the left side there that in Toronto, half the city is women, of course, and half the city is visible minority, but those numbers are not represented at all in our city council. In fact, it went down from 03 to 06, and I ran this in 06. So one of my goals was to show that if we made it inclusive, it would change that as well. Tons of media coverage, TV, radio, print, again, volunteer project, and that helped us recruit more and more candidates. Candidates came to opening night. 600 people came in the audience for opening night. It was amazing. The candidates were incredibly diverse, incredibly smart. They weren't left, they weren't right, they were everything. It was so diverse that it was embarrassing to me because it would have seemed like I had set up a quota for every single marginalized group. We had a candidate in a wheelchair. We had a candidate who talked about First Nations issues. We had a candidate who talked about being transgendered, as if I had a checklist. I didn't. What happened is that Toronto showed up. The diversity that is Toronto wanted to run for office. And you can see the colors of the faces of these people are much more diverse than the ones we have on City Council now. And then we wanted to make it really fun. We wanted to make it into a performance. The audience voted for their top 10 favorite on opening night to get half of them off the island. So we had 100 candidates originally sign up. Only 75 actually performed on opening night once they saw how big the theater was. Some of them got scared. So we had 600 people each voting for their top 10. That's 6,000 paper votes to tabulate. And obviously we want to announce the winner on the night to make it exciting. So we made this crazy system of bags where they were sorted. So all the numbers from like 0 to 35 would go in one box, and then 36 to 70 in a different box. And then those would go into 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So they would kind of get, they'd go through this kind of filtering thing. And then at the end, you'd see here, every candidate had their own bag. And we had these people dressed up as retro accountants with visors and aprons, rapidly sorting all these numbers live on stage as a performance with someone playing live vote counting music on an accordion. So the whole thing was like, we turned something that could have been really boring into something that was really fun and very visual and very entertaining. Our winners were Amarjeet Chabra. We had 4 different regional winners, a Sikh female from Scarborough. She won the Scarborough final. We ran her for office. This is her flyer and her sticker, I guess. Bahar Amin Vaziri was our winner for North York, Persian female. This was her candidate card and her lawn sign. Arthur Roshak was our winner in Etobicoke. And Desmond Cole was our winner in the downtown, and he's gone on to be a very high-profile journalist talking about Black Lives Matter and issues in Toronto about racial profiling. He was our winner downtown. We ran him for office. None of them won, but it didn't matter. It was their first time getting a shot. They got a lot of experience, a lot of exposure in the media, built a lot of skills, and they wouldn't have run otherwise. So it's creating that safe space, like an incubator, for someone to try something that they might not have tried otherwise. And then in the end, it was turned into a documentary film called City Idol. And as you could see, they didn't care about Bell Globe Media's concerns about trademark. So the important thing here is this actually relates back to the marketing as well, because if you think about it, that first website I threw up, City Idol, the call, have you got what it takes? Essentially what we were inviting people to was a night of speeches. Get on a stage and give a speech about the city. But if I called it speech night, no one would have shown up. There would have been no candidates, the media wouldn't have cared, there wouldn't have been 600 people in the audience. I can assure you that there wouldn't have been a documentary film crew calling me up saying, Dave, we just heard about speech night, and this sounds really cool. We think this would make a good doc, a night of speeches. So by calling it City Idol, we were able to transform what was actually a speech night into something very entertaining, very involved, and it was able to lure political entrepreneurs out of the woodwork and give them a lot of skills that they wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. So let me just wrap up by tying all this together and saying that what I think people need in their lives to express their own creativity and to become political or economic entrepreneurs is confidence, tools, access, and opportunity. And whether we're democratic activists such as myself or economic developers such as you, I think we share the exact same goal, which is liberating the potential for people to creatively and confidently invest their personal resources and skills to build a better world that is sustainable, comfortable, vibrant, exciting, healthy, safe, and green. And by helping people find their confidence and providing them with the tools they need, we can transform the general public into better consumers, creators, inventors, investors, neighbors, and citizens. I think people will get involved and they will create if we open the doors. Thank you. So, we have a few minutes for questions, maybe one question, maybe two, depends how quick they are. Quick, come on up, just yell it, scream it. There's mics around if you want. This happens every time, it's really funny. No one wants to be the first, and there's always 100. Yes, say your name too.
Andy Davis.
Hi.
I guess what my question for you is, this is fascinating stuff, it's great stuff, but it's a lot of creative ideas. What do you do to generate these kind of creative ideas? I think that's where a lot of it starts.
Yeah, well, I touched on that before. I think we all have creative ideas. I think people get together in bars and dinner tables and joke about creative ideas. What's not missing isn't the ideas, it's the guts to actually do it. For every business that gets started, 10,000 other people had the exact same idea, but just felt, I don't know, it's really risky. What if it doesn't work? The stress, the impact on my family. You can always think worst case scenario. I've always just been kind of gutsy. Every time someone said this isn't going to work, which has been every project, I've done it, and some of them have failed. I didn't show you those ones. It doesn't play as well. So yeah, I don't think we're lacking the creativity. I think we're lacking the confidence and the cultural nurturing that tells people that it's okay to try something that they're not sure about, and that failure is okay. Yeah, that's a really funny question. Yeah. It's been different every year, and I don't know if it's really applicable to anyone else's life, because I've just kind of been on a weird trajectory. I made money any way I could through most of those years. Some of those projects brought in small amounts of money. City Idol broke even. I charged $2 at the door, and there were 600 people, and that paid for my rental fees, and websites are free. I've worked for political parties at times. I'll never do that again. I find the partisanship of parties in both of our countries to be really toxic and disgusting, and I won't work for them. I've done some journalism. I was in a band, so I made some money playing music. I actually get paid now to stand here and talk to you. So that's the weirdest thing, because I didn't know that was a job. But so my profession right now is public speaking, which is a thing you can do. I'm publishing a book right now. So I'm a living evidence of like how you can live your whole life as an entrepreneur. I've never gone into debt. Every year I've paid my bills. Sometimes I've just had shit jobs. And why not? I mean, that's what most people do. They go to work because it's work. And sometimes I've just had to get a job working in a shipping department or whatever. But on the side, doing what I really believe in. And after decades of that, I now get paid to talk about all the crazy things I did while I was working in the shipping department, which I didn't show that part either, because there was boxes and there was magazines, and it wasn't that fun to show. The book is called 100 Remedies. The website is 100remedies.org. I've got some cards to hand out, and it's a crowdsourcing website, which means not a crowdfunding website. I'm not asking you for your money. If you have any ideas of how you would inspire an entrepreneurial spirit, both democratically and economically, please go on my website and throw your ideas up there. I'd love to hear from you. And I've always just had faith in people around me. I've always tried to find people to work with who had shared values. And I'll be honest, I mean, you all probably know this if you've been an entrepreneur or self-employed. It's emotionally difficult. I mean, not having the stability of a permanent job definitely increases things like anxiety and depression at times, and there's more self-doubt at times. But I think people like me can't live any other way. I also have no kids and no mortgage and no car, so I don't need much money. But I've proudly earned my own money all through life and just doing it different ways. There's so many ways to make money out there.
One more question.
Sorry to interrupt. Ryan Rogowski, City of North Glen. And our city is very inclusive, but I wanted to posit that maybe not all cities really want to have public engagement at all times. What would you say to those cities or people that might not be as open to be inclusive as you suggest?
Sure, and there's a few reasons why they might not want to. So first of all, I think we need to move away from language like obligation and duty when it comes to politics, both on the side of the voter and on the side of the politicians and bureaucrats. So we tell voters, you should vote, it's your duty. Screw that. People should participate because it's a collective process of making our lives better for everyone. If you call it a duty, no one's going to want to do it. And then on the politician side, it's not a moral obligation to consult. It's a free opportunity. You could hire a consulting firm and pay them tens of thousands of dollars per hour, or you could ask everyone in your city, what do you think? And they might give you some really innovative ideas. So it's about shifting, rather than seeing people as annoying protesters, seeing them as a wealth of knowledge. And let me add one more thing. We've all been to the town hall where the people who come up to the mics are the angry people, and they're there to yell. So the bureaucrats are scared that if we increased engagement, we would be increasing the yellers. I firmly believe that if we lived in a true culture of engagement, where we actually and honestly invited people to participate, those angry people would become diluted in a larger pool of sanity. And the only way to find that out and to prove it is to try it, and for cities to realize that the best resource they have available to them is the residents, not just to vote for them, not just to pay taxes, but because if you have 1 million people in your city, that's 1 million brains with ideas and opinions and creativity, and they're very happy to share that with the city, and you'd be crazy not to tap into it. Thanks.
Here, Dave, come over. Get a chance to sit on the couch.
Oh, really?
I just want to make sure Dave has a chance to sit on the couch. So just a couple quick housekeeping things. We've talked to about some of the students who are here this morning, and Dave certainly set a good example with the exception of his report card. But I just want to read Arapahoe Community College, University College of Boulder are here in attendance, and Douglas County and Jefferson County High School students are all here. So we're going to take a break for a few minutes, and I hope we have a chance to interact with them. But what a way to kick off this morning's activities, and I can't thank Dave enough for coming. So let's give him a round of applause.